Human Evolution, Chapters 8 and 9 by Astrid Noguera, Shaniqua Sacho, and Matthew Reyes. Final Project.
Our hominid lineage has evolved over time. Darwin had an idea that our species originated from Africa. Given that our closest relatives, gorillas and chimpanzees, are found there. Professor Raymond Dart was the first to discover a fossil now known as Australopithecus africanus, which helped link us between our common ancestor.
Over time, we have been able to use fossils and DNA sequence to establish where we fit in our evolutionary tree. With the indisputable evidence, we can see how well we are connected to all organisms, whether living or dead.
We now have clear evidence of our evolution due to the findings of our fossils. Our features put us in a superfamily known as the Hominidae, with the lesser apes and the greater apes. The characteristics that we share, such as flattened fingernails and prolonged parental care, groups us in the family Hominidae. This puts chimps as our closest cousin.
Fossil evidence has been more psychologically convincing than molecular data. Our DNA sequence is 98.5% shared with chimps. With fossils, we are able to see the skeleton of an Australopithecine with its small skull nearly identical to a modern human. Additionally, their overall skeletal structure is similar to ours.
The Sahelanthropus chirensis was discovered as a possible hominin. This hominin contained mixed traits of human-ape characteristics. We have the skull, which shows mixtures of hominin-like and ape-like traits. It had a long cranium with a small chimp-sized brain. But like later hominins, it had a flat face, smaller teeth, and brow ridges.
Bipedalism was discovered by a group of fossilized leg bones. In this discovery, Donald Johnson and Tom Gray noticed several hominin bones on the ground. These bones came to be known as Lucy, and Lucy was of a new species named Australopithecus afarensis, dating back to 3.2 million years ago. Biologists have come to assume that bipedalism was due to changes in the environment in order to allow the hominin to move faster and more efficiently. But it also could have been for the gathering of food and the making of tools.
We see evidence of bipedalism with Lucy's fossilized leg bone, the way in which the femur connects to the pelvis at one end and to the knee at the other. This allows for the center of gravity to stay in place while walking. Other evidence of bipedalism are found in the Laetoli footprint in the country of Tanzania. The prints suggest bipedally since they are similar to human footprints. Scientists believe these prints were most likely made by Australopithecus afarensis.
Lucy had both chimp and human characteristics. She had an ape head with a chimp brain, and her skull was more human-like, such as the teeth structure being semi-parabolic. With Lucy's discovery, we learned something important about our evolution. Our upright posture developed long before our big brains.
A leap into our evolution began when the first tool-using human, the Homo habilis, made tools for an effective use. The fossils of the Homo habilis were found with a variety of tools used for chopping, scraping, and butchering. The first hominin to leave Africa was the Homo erectus, where their remains have been found around China, Indonesia, Europe, and the Middle East. This migration must have been due to the expansion in Africa, which forced them to seek new places to live. Homo erectus was a successful species which lived for about 1.5 million years, disappearing from the fossil record strangely only about 300,000 years ago.
Neanderthals vanished about 28,000 years ago. They had large middle part of the face, angled cheekbones, and a large nose. The cause of their disappearance is unknown, but it might have been associated with another form of hominin, the Homo sapiens. It is known that the Homo sapiens eradicated out all hominins on Earth.
There are two theories that attempt to explain human evolution. We have the multi-regional theory and out of Africa theory. The multi-regional theory proposes an evolutionary replacement, stating that Homo erectus evolved to Homo sapiens independently due to natural selection acting the same way all over the world. The out of Africa theory proposes that Homo sapiens originated in Africa, spreaded throughout Africa, and physically replaced Homo erectus and Neanderthals due to them being outcompeted for food and other natural resources. There is more physical evidence that supports the latter of the two theories.
Finding out about our evolution and our closest relatives, we can see how close or different we are from them. Humans and chimp are differed by only 1%. Many predict that some changes in our genes might have been contributed to our evolution. The 1% of difference between chimps and humans has showed us that is really a large difference. A lot of our proteins will differ by at least one amino acid from the sequence of chips, meaning that one change out of all the sequence changes the whole order of proteins.
Around the world, we see many distinct humans looking different from each other. Races are populations of a species that are both geographically separated and differ genetically in one or more traits. We can simply say that Homo sapiens clearly have different races. Race gives us evidence that we have geographically separated to allow some genetic divergence to occur. Race doesn't show a huge difference in alleles. At the molecular level, it shows similar alleles but in different frequencies.
Between populations, natural selection has created some differences in humans. An example would be the ability to digest a sugar found in milk called lactose. We are born with an enzyme called lactase that helps us digest lactose. Over time, we no longer produce this enzyme and are no longer able to digest lactose. As we get older, we lose the ability to break down this sugar, which eventually makes us feel sick. The loss of this sugar might be due to natural selection coming into play. If our ancestors didn't benefit from it, then there is no reason to maintain it, and therefore selection will naturally remove it.
Humans are now becoming more adaptive to modern environments and new ways of life. With this, we can say we are slowly evolving. We are working products of evolution, and as natural selection goes, it will either fix or lose alleles depending on whether or not they benefit or harm the individual.
Evolution is a scientific fact as we have immense evidence in support of it. We have the fossil record, embryology, vestigial structures, suboptimal design, natural selection, and as we talked about before, biogeography. All of these pieces of evidence support evolution in their own way. For example, biogeography helps us understand why there are two types of plants with different characteristics that live in nearly identical environments. Opponents believe that the evils of evolution come from two views that are a fundamental part of science. Naturalism, which states the only way to understand the world is through the scientific method, and materialism, that says the only reality is just the physical matter of the universe, and everything else, including thoughts, will, and emotions, is a part of physical laws acting on that matter. Darwinism, fundamental part of evolutionary theory, is naturalistic materialism that uses scientific methods to explain where we come from, including many physical forces acting over thousands of years. The EEA, also known as the Environment of Evolutionary Adaptiveness, is thought to be the physical and social environment that shaped our behaviors into what they are today. There are many human universals or traits shared among societies that include symbolic language, division of labor, religious or supernatural belief, dance and music, and among a few others. We must be careful to not fall into the trap and attempt to justify all of our behaviors with an evolutionary origin. However, some behaviors do have an evolutionary origin. Sexual selection is a prime example. Males are typically sexually indiscriminate as opposed to females. Males mate with whomever they can, and females tend to be a bit more choosy. The similarity between female choosiness among humans and animals suggests that we were also molded by sexual selection, and thus this behavior has an evolutionary origin.
Science doesn't exclude supernatural explanation. However, it isn't needed. We understand the world with reason and materialism. With that, supernatural explanation means the end of inquiry. Supernatural explanation gives us a reason for the way the world works and the variety of species. God wants it this way, and that's it, nothing else to it. Evolution is only a theory that explains the processes and patterns of life's diversifications, and it is not an effort to give meaning to life. Most of us need some type of moral guidance in our lives in order to function as a productive member of society. Most of us need to have meaning and purpose in order to live a life without the constraints of our past behaviors weighing us down.